Good morning everybody. Sono Stefano Carrara, presidente di Tourette Italia e oggi ho il piacere di avere con noi l'amico mio personale e anche di Tourette Italia Paul Stevenson. L'intervista di oggi sarà svolta in inglese, so we switch to English. Paul, first of all, welcome and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Are we recording now?
Yes,
Yes?
we are.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir. So, Paul, welcome, and thank you for being with us today, and great to see you.
Hi. It's lovely to see you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you guys.
I cannot
I'm
help
talking a bit.
noticing a certain T-shirt on your side, and
Yes.
by why, which reminds us of a very sad period as an Italian. As you know, we are not attending the World Cup, Football World Cup for the third time in a row. So I'm sure, knowing your love for Italy and for our country, that you're wearing that T-shirt because you share our sorrow and pain.
Yes. And this T-shirt was because John Davidson knows I love Italy. This was a gift for my birthday, an Italian.
So let's hope for the Italian people that those 4 stars
So
in
yes,
one day in the future will become 5 stars. So thank you
exactly.
again. Now I will start, and I'm very proud to have you here with us. First of all, I will ask you to make a brief introduction of yourself. So Paul, just introduce yourself, and then we move on to the next point, which regards, as everybody knows, the movie I Swear.
Right. So my name's Paul Stevenson. I'm a 63-year-old father of 5. I have Tourette syndrome. I've had Tourette syndrome all my life, but did not discover until I was the age of 46. And as people may know or may not know, Tourette syndrome is usually not a standalone condition. So I also have in the mix ADHD, I'm autistic, and OCD and sensory processing things. So I've got many letters after my name. Unfortunately, not MBE or OBE or Sir or Knight, but TS, ADHD, and so on. I have my children. I've got 3 of my children, my 3 oldest, who also have Tourette syndrome, autistic, and ADHD. So the it runs strong in our family, the genetics. When I mentioned before about having a diagnosis at the age of 46, I'd experienced some PTSD. I lost 2 friends in quite close succession. I won't go into detail because it's very triggering and it's very sad, but it was in tragic circumstances. And this made me have a major breakdown. I thought I was suffering from mental health issues. And then after the last funeral, at the funeral, I started making phonic noises like ha, 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 and small motor movements with my shoulders. So you try to rationalize as to why you're doing this. And I thought, this is trauma, this is dealing with the sadness, this is emotion. But within 3 weeks of the first few tics, my Tourette seemed to just explode to complex motor tics, complex vocal tics, including copralia. I was collapsing on the floor, dislocating joints. So it was a very, very scary time for me. I didn't understand what was happening. So you go looking for answers. And I got a diagnosis of Tourette syndrome because...
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
How long did it take to you to get the right diagnosis?
Because I was in a crisis position. So I would say maybe 2 years. But from when in a crisis position with the NHS, right away there was psychiatrists, psychologists talking to me. Now, whilst right away they came to the conclusion it was Tourette's, the confusion was that why had it not been there before? But the reality of it was it had been there before, but very, very mild tics. clearing my throat, rolling my eyes, to the point where I didn't recognize them. And I think a lot of parents find this now, that the children may be experiencing tics, but because they've had them for a while and they're not problematic, they just get put down to habits and different things. So yeah, I got a diagnosis, and I was told that this was a rare condition. This is the worst condition that they've ever seen, and basically the only way forward was through medication. And I felt very isolated after that, and I didn't feel like I was part of the community. I hid away at home. I didn't want to meet people because I felt ridiculed by this condition. And then I thought to myself, this isn't the way forward. You know, I want to be understood. I want to be accepted for who I am. I am still Paul Stevenson. And the only way I could do that was to become an advocate, to become a spokesperson, to articulate to medical professions, teachers, to live with this condition that a lot of young people have. And that's where my journey started, with who's now my best friend, John Davidson, who the movie I Swear is about. And
So
John
Paul,
was my mentor.
sorry again, Paul. Sorry again. This is very interesting. Then, in short, we will move on the movie and then also on John. Just to close with your first part of your life. Basically, you didn't have a strong Tourette as a children. Tourette came out when you were an adult due to a traumatic event, which we are not going to now go into detail about that. And then and I'm saying that because everybody knows you in the Tourette world. You decided to fight, not just fight your new condition, but also to help others. So can you tell us briefly in what consists basically your advocacy today? I know you do many things. So, but which are the main things you do to help, and you do help a lot in the Tourette world to help people with Tourette improve their condition.
First of all, came the documentaries, because it seemed a very obscure thing for a 46-year-old man to start with Tourette. So the media was interested. There was newspaper items. Now I got involved. I think I've done 4 documentaries altogether. And the reason why I did this is to find different platforms and be an advocate for people with Tourette syndrome. This led me to going into schools, to universities, and into the workplace, in order to talk to people. And we need to be seen. You know, we're not broken. We don't need fixing. And that's the message that I've got. I want people to look beyond the tics and see the real Paul. And this was inspired by my mother. Was obvious, as many parents are, when the children get diagnosed, it's a distressing time, an upsetting time. But my mum kept saying to me, I've lost my son, I've lost my son. And I'm like waving at the other side of the room going, Mum, I'm here. So just accept my tics, support my challenges, but this is the message, to work to my strengths. Because at that time, I didn't know what my strengths were that came with my neurodivergence. Even though my tics weren't noticed by me at a young age, I suffered a lot of bullying at school because of the manifestation of twitching and moving around. Bullying from punishment from my parents when I was very young for ADHD manifestations. So you're carrying a lot of negative labels. And that's why when I was diagnosed, it was like an epiphany. You know, this is it. You're telling me this is what's wrong with me, but really this is what's right with me. I've got Tourette syndrome. So one of the things I've developed all the way through my life is resilience. Resilience like tempered steel. When they're making steel, it's beat, it's heated, it's cooled down, and all the experiences I've had have given me this resilience to be able to stand up and talk to people with passion about my lived experience. So that's what I do now. I'm an advocate for all the Tourette's associations, because I believe in building bridges and not burning bridges. And united we stand, divided we fall. And I think we have this common thing where Tourette syndrome doesn't notice borders. So, that's why I enjoy doing what I'm doing with
Thank you.
yourselves.
Thank you, Paul, for what you said. I can confirm it because I know you personally, and I think this is a very strong message that goes to everybody with Tourette in Italy and all over the world. So now, thank you. Moving on to the movie. The movie, I swear, is about a person with Tourette syndrome. Can you tell us before diving into the moving plot? And by the way, we don't want to spoil anything because this movie is not still in Italy, so we have to wait. We're looking forward to watching that movie, but
He
you
dies
can
in the end.
at least say
Sorry.
exactly. So how did which were the condition that generated the movie? Who was the person or the persons that decided to do a movie on Tourette? Because by the way, this is not the first movie on Tourette. We have many famous movies coming from the US specifically. So, what is the origin of the movie and the objective of the movie?
So the origin of the movie is an idea brought forward by Kirk Jones, who's quite a famous and renowned director, producer, storyteller in the UK and internationally as well. He approached John, asking if John would mind if he made a movie about his life. And it just came together absolutely fantastically. And the two worked really well together. And I think Kirk's attitude right from the beginning, like I said, he's a great storyteller, but he wanted to do this right. He wanted to get it right. And you could tell that with his determination, with his questions, how he was going about organizing the movie. So that was the basic foundation where it started from.
Can you tell us something about the movie, the plot, resuming the plot without spoiling it? Otherwise, they will
Yeah.
get very pissed with me. Just to,
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to do because, hey, as you know, I've got Tourette's, and when I've been sat in the movie, I've been shouting out spoiler alerts because I'm aware what's going to come next. So I
so
will try
please
and
spoil the movie.
suppress. Yeah.
Then spoil the movie.
Right. So
Okay.
the story is about John Davidson. I mentioned him earlier in this podcast, and he's a guy who came to fame at the age of 15 in 1989 through one of the top 40 documentaries, still is in the top 40, called John's Not Mad. And basically it follows John and his family life from before the tick started to when the tick started. And it's a great movie because it's like where you've seen documentaries about Tourette syndrome, and it's a roller coaster ride, extreme ticks, and then this is working out pretty well. This movie shows the reality of what it's really like to be misunderstood, to be outcast for having a condition that you can't help whatsoever, and it captures it perfectly. It captures the time period. The music in the movie encapsulates the sense about what it was like to live back then, and it follows John all the way through to him getting recognition from the royal family in the UK, where he received an MBE, which is a high accolade, which we're all really proud of him for doing that. So that's the journey of the movie, without giving too much of the plot away.
Does John have a strong Tourette?
Yes, very, very, very strong.
So
Very
the movie
loud, complex.
Yeah, so the movie is about his life, and what was the role then of John, beside inspiring the movie in the making of the movie? Because I guess that maybe he helped out to characterize the main character of the movie, or even in some other passages or workarounds. So what was his role, and what was your role in the movie on in helping John?
I think this is really important about the movie, and this is what's made it a success and made it different, is that right from the word go, all the Tourette's associations were involved in support. Robert Aramayo, who plays John, and young Scott, they got to meet John. They spoke to John. Rob stayed with John over a 3-month period. I had Zoom calls with Rob, talking to him about not one of the questions he asked me wasn't about the tics. It said, what about the other things that come with the tics? John's OCD, John's anxiety. He really wanted to know in depth beyond the tics,
Wow.
how John functioned. Over 30 of the cast, including myself, have Tourette syndrome. And that's unprecedented. You know, like people say, it's not an inclusive movie. It's a very inclusive movie. John was made executive producer, and all the way through the process, he was either on the set or via phone call. This is happening. What do you think? Should we put this in? Should we add that in? And Rob, he got into the role as a method actor of John Davidson right from when the first take went. He became John. He ticked like John. He didn't get out of character when he wasn't filming. One example, I was on set, I was in my trailer waiting for the scene that I was doing, and I could hear someone coming down outside going, hey, hey, hey. And I went, John, John. And I looked out and it wasn't John, it was Rob.
Wow.
And so even when he wasn't on film, he was staying in the same character. And he's an absolutely brilliant actor, honestly. The dedication that he's put into that, and it went beyond the movie as well. After the movie, it took him a while to recover from ticking, tick movements. And even the tics became habitual, but obviously because he doesn't have Tourette syndrome, they eased away.
So this is, sorry to interrupt, this is a very important things. The actor, so Robert Aramayo, he doesn't have Tourette syndrome. And
No.
I've seen some scenes on the movie, and before we started this recording, I asked you whether the actor had Tourette syndrome or not, because I thought that he had Tourette syndrome, and I have a song with Tourette syndrome. I work in an association about Tourette, so I reasonably think that I know how to recognize a person with Tourette. I can do that, and I was really astonished and surprised when I saw those scenes. But Paul, you said that Robert practically lived with John during months, so that means that it was not just a matter of interiorizing and learning how to think, how to twitch, how to scream, but probably how to think, how to behave. He was in a way like merging with John. And then secondly, I'm asking you how the producers of the movie came across Robert. Was there a tough selection, or someone knew him and he said, look, this is the perfect actor for us?
I wasn't party to that, but whoever put Robert forward, scored really high, because he was the perfect person for the role. And I knew from my first conversation with Rob, that he was the man for the job. And I knew that he wanted to do it right. It had to be right. And I think if it wasn't right for him, he probably wouldn't have been in it. But he wanted to go beyond the tics, and whereas in the documentaries, it's all about the tics, about some crazy guy. But there's a few bits in it that you'll see that are very meticulous. What Rob does, that he captures the essence of John, and same with all the actors. Maxine Peake, who I had the pleasure of meeting on set, plays Dottie. She got Dottie off to a T. She had the essence of Dottie, the kindness, the love, I'm trying to think of the word now, unconditional love, that, and acceptance, right away, that connection. And the gentleman who played Tommy, who was John's mentor and best friend, Peter Mullen, just, you know, he was just great. They actually won a BAFTA for the casting, and yeah, they should get an Academy Award for the casting, because it was a perfect match. Everybody worked well together, and I think because of who the actors are and because of their personalities, they fit into the role. You know, they've got empathy, they want change, and I think that's what made it a success. By the way, it got 3 BAFTAs. It won 3 BAFTAs. So Rob won Best Actor, and he won it twice, and obviously for the casting as well. But I think Kirk's the sort of person that he had to be right. You know, he's so focused. He invested a lot into it. He actually remortgaged his house to fund. So that's how
Paul,
much he believed in that.
it is very difficult for such a movie to become also a commercial success, but can we say that I Swear, at least in the UK, is being extremely successful, even for movie which do not belong to this kind of movies that are focused on a disease. Is that true?
Yeah. Now, the secret behind that, I mean, it's having success all around the world, but myself and people around my age, we grew up knowing John as a boy from seeing him on TV. Documentary after documentary after documentaries followed John's life. So it's like we knew him personally, but we'd seen him on TV. When the first documentary came out, it was so shocking. I remember watching it and thinking, wow, how can this be? And I had Tourette's and didn't know. But John's tics are very complex. So the platform were already there. The audience was already there. Like I said, the documentary John's Not Mad was is like one all-time top 40 documentaries globally. And it went round the globe, you know, America, Australia, Europe. We all was aware of John. Everybody seems to have ownership of John. Whenever I speak to people, say, "Oh, I know John. He lives in the Scottish borders. I've seen him at work." And he's always, because of the person that he is, he just kept giving and giving and giving, and that's, you know, up to the point of where he had the recognition through royalty. The documentaries have all been really good. I remember watching one before my diagnosis, and it was called "I Swear I Can't Help It." And I'm going to make a confession here, right? I laughed because I thought the tics were funny. Later, Stefano, I was ticking exactly the same because of the trauma I'd been through. And I watched the documentary again, and I looked at it and I recognized myself. I thought, this is me. I've got Tourette syndrome. And my heart was breaking because of my experience that I was having now. And just wondering how I could move forward. And how I could move forward was to work along with John, these guys, in doing what they do, their advocacy work. So yes, it was a recipe for success, as far as the seeds had already been spread out there because of the documentaries before.
What was the main effect, the tangible effect, if there was any, and if there is any effect on people? I mean, it's the first time, as long as I know, that in a country like England, a movie on Tourette is so successful, which means that for the first time, reasonably, that message managed to touch many people massively, and it managed to touch people in the right way. You said before that this is the first time a movie does not reflect the typical stereotype on Tourette, which we are really tired and sick of seeing on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about. Did you see any tangible effect on people in the street thanks to this movie?
Uh, yeah, it's just, so the first time that we went to the premiere, and there was a standing ovation, people clapping 15, 20 minutes, just people in tears, people really emotionally moved by the movie. And that's what the movie does. It gets into your heart. It lets you see the real person inside, the struggles. it didn't concentrate on the stigma. It didn't concentrate on the coprolalia. Whilst it was emotional, it shared the emotion with people, and it was very raw, but it also shared some humorous parts of John's life. But I think because it was so open and it was so raw, it just brought that empathy out of people. I've seen the movie. I ran a poll on LinkedIn weeks ago, and I just said, what effect did the movie have on people who have seen it? A massive percentage said, I got to see the real person beyond the ticks. And think that's the key thing to it, that, you know, you're looking at a real person, someone you can relate to, someone from a working class background in Scotland, sorry, who you went to school with. You know, it's somebody they could connect with. And I think that's, you know, that's why it made the perfect recipe for success.
I think that could be a payoff of any charity and advocacy in the world. See the real person. Maybe we got an idea today, and it was amazing, your description. And I think that everybody within the Tourette community, but also everybody also which is not in the Tourette community,
Yeah.
will be very happy to watch the movie. Of course, we're not promoting any movie, because we're also supporting some movies that have been recorded here in Italy, and which will come to stage very soon. There is one in Rome called Il Cacciatore di Mosche, which is a great movie also. And as an association, we believe that it's very good and is very helpful,
Yeah.
for everybody, that such type of movie, which do not stick to the surface, but deep and dive deeply into the real essence of people, which is something that Tourette sadly sometimes manage to hide. So people, they see tics, they see the disease, but they don't see the great person that often are behind Tourette. So I think that it was lovely. It was a great message, and let me make your message my message, and that would be our association message. So lastly, just closing this beautiful interview, I'm asking you one, last issue is regarding charities and association and advocacy. I think that during the last years, there was a big improvement in terms of awareness of Tourette syndrome worldwide. But I also think, having been in many associations, being president of one association, having been in working and still working with my friends in TITA, which is a European association, I think that the step we all have to make in the Tourette world is to move on to something more ambitious than that awareness is basic, fundamental, but we need to to gather resources to create centers and something which can help person with severe Tourette's in the worst time that these people can experiment throughout their lives. So I think that this is the next challenge. What do you think? Do you share my view or whatever?
Well, I agree with you on the point of, especially this year, 2026 Awareness Month and Awareness Day, the world became a smaller place. So many Tourette's societies interacting together, sharing experiences, sharing stories, sharing support, signposting to each other, where the individual with Tourette's would be best served. Because that's what we can't forget. It's about the people living with a condition. We might have a shiny veneer that looks good. This is what we do, but it's the grassroots work, working with the people, empowering the individuals. That's what matters. A lot of time when I come across parents and in the workplace, these young people and adults have been told, you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to do this. You'll never do that. Well, that just doesn't get you anywhere, does it? All it does is just drag the individual down. And this is what I like about all the Tourette's associations. And what I like about Tourette Italia is empowering the individual, the person, seeing the real individual. I'm good friends with yourself and your family, and I have an affection for Alberto, and I see struggles like I do in many other people. And I'll kind of just share an experience with you quickly, right? So I got a message on social media from a young man called Giacomo in Italy. I find this very emotional, actually. He said, "Dear Paul, I want to thank you from my heart for making it feel normal to have Tourette syndrome in Italy. I watched your documentary when I was a boy, and it made me feel that I could go out with Tourette syndrome." He said, "I've just graduated from university, and for this I want to say thank you." And I'm like, I haven't done anything. I
Great.
haven't. I've been an advocate. I've opened a door, and Giacomo walked through, and he did all the hard work. And this is what we need to remember as associations. And you know, my heart and my affections are with Tourette Italia. I've been over many times. In fact, if it hadn't been for you guys, I would probably never have flown in an aeroplane, you know, to another country from that strength. But to be welcomed and accepted, we'd never met each other before, and I just felt like I was meeting a brother, a cousin, like I was meeting family. And I think that's one of the reasons why Tourette's associations are successful, because they are like a family and they care.
So great. I'm really touched by that. And by the way, you will have to go into another plane very soon, because as long as the movie is on stage in Italy, we are going to invite you for the
Oh,
premiere,
wow.
or even for yes, and you will have to be prepared and fly again to Italy. Paul, thank you very much on behalf of Tourette Italia, so Sabrina, Fabrizio, and Irene, and all the people who are collaborating in trying to make things better, and also in trying to help a person to see the real person. I told you before, I'm gonna make this payoff our payoff, because I think it's excellent. I'm not stealing the copyright. I will say to everybody that it's Paul Stevenson copyright, but you kindly allow me to use this payoff, which I found it
Yeah.
fantastic.
So,
Grazie, grazie, Paul.
yeah, I just want to say to yourself and Tourette Italia, grazie mille. Uh, Thank you again.
So, Paul Stevenson, thank you very much, and we're gonna meet very soon. Goodbye.